CNN's Isabel Rosales, who I believe is at an assisted living center where it's a bit of a dynamic situation right now. Isabel, what are you seeing?
Hold on a second.
Hey, John. Yeah, good morning to you, John. You saw the active rescues that were happening over in Plant City. Now we have moved on to a different part of Hillsborough County by the University of South Florida. And my God, just look at this. An incredible amount of flooding just from all the rainfall and a nearby lake over here. I have never seen this by the University Plaza area, and I used to live here for many years. As we were zooming in, you can see cars that are flooded out. You can see the police officers who have taped off a huge section of this road. And I can also tell you that in that direction, John, there's an assisted living facility where Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office tells me that they are conducting active rescue operations right now. They have over 100 people in there that are trapped and they need to get them out. And you're talking about some people who need to use wheelchairs, some people who, because they're so sick or elderly, you know, they're bedridden. So complex medical issues where they need the help of HCSO deputies to get them out of there. And how are they doing that? In floodwaters like this, through amphibious vehicles. So SHRP is what they call them, this vehicle that's able to get into these floodwaters with deflatable tires and literally float in this and then come back onto dry land, and the tires reinflate to get them out of there. So you are looking at just a stunning, impressive sight here at the University Plaza area of Hillsborough County. And you can tell from the people over here on the left, if we can pan over this way, it's people who have never seen this. Coming out here, getting close to the water as HCSO is conducting active operations right now. John.
Isabel, we're going to stay with you for a little bit because these are remarkable images that we are seeing now in Hillsborough. And this water that is there, is this the rain or these rivers that have overflowed? How did it all get there? Where can it go?
John, a little bit of everything. The impressive amount of rainfall that was unrelentless overnight from Milton. There's also a lake in that direction and retention ponds that filled up from all of that rainfall and then drew it out here. And then there's also high tide. We heard Tampa Mayor Jane Castor warning that we're not out of the woods yet when it comes to flooding. The tide swelling the rivers and causing flash flooding, causing flooding issues, period, where it can be a dangerous situation. And we're witnessing this right now. I know that they have been throughout the morning checking in, deputies checking in on cars too that have been flooded out to make sure there's nobody in need of their help. But we know, again, in that assisted living facility, over 100 people that do need their help right now.
All right. At the other end of this water, an assisted living facility, people need to be taken out of. Isabel, if you could have the camera push in again so we can take a look at some of these vehicles that are stuck there. Now, what we don't know is if they were there all along and the water just rose on parked cars, or, as often happens during storms and after storms, people go out and try to drive through things. But one thing I think that is clear, Isabel, right now, and that looks like what maybe happened here because these cars aren't positioned in a way that it looks like the drivers had a choice there. Just again, describe how widespread this is and what you've seen among in regards to flooded vehicles.
Right, John, and it's a little windy right now. Hope you can hear me okay. What caught Sheriff Chad Chronister by surprise, as I was talking to him this morning, was how many areas of Hillsborough County, his county, that would normally never dream of seeing this flood. People woke up and were suddenly blindsided by this flooding. That's what he told me. I don't believe that this is an area that would normally experience something of this nature. When I was over in Plant City, folks who were stuck at a Holiday Inn over there, they told me they woke up and suddenly they were sloshing their feet on the ground floor there of the hotel. So they weren't expecting that. These were people who did, you know, everything right. They were not in evacuation zone A or B. They were further inland, never anticipating the flooding to reach them. And suddenly they have found themselves in this situation. Now with these cars, I'm with you, John. I don't know, what led to the situation. If, suddenly they saw the waters rise and they didn't listen to that old, saying of turn around, don't drown. What happened here with these cars, I don't know. I'm supposed to meet with Sheriff Chad Chronister here shortly. We're anticipating doing a ride along here as they're conducting these active rescue operations and hopefully getting more details as to how we got to this point here in the university area.
Yeah, I didn't even see that sedan parked underneath that Bank of America sign there. There's barely the roof of a car sticking out there. You can get a sense of just how deep the water is. Isabel Rosales, you and your team have been running all around the state in the Tampa Bay area. Thank you so much for your hard work.
Joining us right now is the FEMA Administrator, Deanne Criswell. Thank you so much, Administrator, for coming on. You guys have a lot on your plate today. What is your assessment of how Hurricane Milton's impact and damage in Florida?
Yeah, Kate, I've had an opportunity to talk with the governor today, as well as his team, and then give the president an update on what we're seeing. And I think what we know for sure is we avoided that worst case scenario that we were planning for. But the fact that they prepared for the worst really made sure that they were able to respond to the impacts that they have experienced. And the biggest ones right now are the tornadoes that have been reported across the state. I think the last number I had was 38 confirmed tornadoes. And the biggest storm surge was certainly in the Sarasota area, but not as much as the catastrophic storm surge that they were predicting, but still a significant amount. They're out right now doing assessments, the state is, and we've pre-positioned resources to be able to come in and help the state with whatever they need.
Some of that pre-positioning, now when you say that, some of the pre-positioning kind of just in general for first responders was at Tropicana Field, the Tampa Bay Rays, the home of the Tampa Bay Rays, that's the stadium there, and the roof was just ripped off, as we saw. That was one of the effects in St. Petersburg, making it impossible for first responders and all who are going to stage there to do that. What do you do with all of that now, and did that impact staging and response?
Yeah, from what I understand from the state is that is a typical location that they do stage resources to support response, but they also know what the wind level is that it's rated for. And when the storm shifted and they saw the increased winds that were going to go over that, they just moved them to some of their other staging areas around the area. No impact to the response here for the first responders. And I think the most important thing is they recognized that it was in that path, it was going to exceed what it was rated for, and they moved all of those responders to safety.
Yeah, got them out of that danger. So what does it mean now for FEMA and your recovery efforts when you're talking now as Milton moves offshore, that you now are dealing with the aftermath and the impacts and destruction from two major hurricanes in 2 weeks? Now, if you had a moment to kind of take an assessment of what this is going to mean for FEMA resources in the long term, now that you see what Milton has done?
Well, I think first off, just the fact that the worst case scenario was not realized here in Florida, it means that doesn't mean that there's not going to be impact and resources needed, but not to the level that perhaps we could have needed. We've done multiple catastrophic events like this in the past. That's why we have a layered approach to our staffing, and we plan for this. And so we had moved resources from some of our non-life-threatening open operations to be able to support what was going to potentially be needed here in Milton. And now we're going to continue to work with the state to help meet not just the Hurricane Helene response and recovery efforts, but now Milton. We already had 1,000 people in the state supporting Helene, as well as the other disasters, Ian and Idalia, that they had the previous years. And so we'll see if we need to bring anything in addition to what we already had to support now what they're seeing from Milton.
And last time we spoke earlier in the week, we were talking about one of the things that FEMA has been forced to fight against is misinformation with regard to false rumors being spread. And that had to do with Hurricane Helene and the impacts of that. It's early on, but are your teams seeing that level of misinformation continue to spread with regard to any difference with the impacts of Hurricane Milton? Like, what would you say is kind of the status report of the battle you all have been needing to wage against this misinformation?
Well, I think as we've looked from Hurricane Helene, we've had such great support from governors and congressional members, local leaders, really helping to push back on that misinformation. And we did see a decrease, even though there was still, some voices out there that were still trying to spread these lies, which is really unfortunate and just a distraction to our ability to support the state and locals with what they're doing. I have not had any reports yet of any increase in misinformation as a result from Milton, but I do have a team that watches this closely. And if we find that we need to get out there and be proactive in our messaging to help dispel these rumors, we'll certainly do that.
Yeah. FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell, thank you very much. Good luck today and, well, far beyond when it comes to FEMA. Thank you so much.